I'm gonna press record.
Okay.
We're live.
Podcasts are just so you can hear yourself talk.
What's that?
Podcasts are only so you can hear
Oh
yourself
my
talk.
gosh, the benefit those people have. Like, can you imagine
That's
Jeff?
us.
Yes, it's us. We're having that benefit. And could you imagine, like, just a repeat? Like, listening back to, like, what the fuck did I say? Who said that?
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Which part of us does the podcast?
Right. Yeah. Still in self-discovery. Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to hear yourself talk about today? What do you want to hear yourself talk about today?
Oh, shoot. We're way,
We
we
are
were
way-
way far away. So many topics, like, swirling. I mean, generally, I have a lot of topics each week, but I feel like there's, like, just a lot of exciting topics of late. Well, so you're the second most pregnant you've ever been in your entire
Yes,
life.
Yes.
And we decided to get a recording in.
Mm-hmm.
How has your journey been with one kid? How's it gonna be with two? Is that a lame topic?
Lame.
Lame. Next. Not a pregnancy podcast. Oops. Off brand.
This isn't parenting podcast.
Off brand.
Although, probably needed.
Yeah, so this is my first birth I'm attending
As a male doula.
as a male doula.
Do you remember that one time you said you wanted to be a doula or a
Many
midwife?
times. Many times I've...
Just recalling one time you said
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, have become very passionate about pregnancy and birth from my friends. Like, I don't know that just in general in my life I had a big awareness of how awesome pregnancy was or how profound, like, the woman's experiences birthing. I don't think I was really particularly interested in it until my friends started getting pregnant and really getting into, like, natural birthing and restoring that. And I'm very into the natural way. You know, the medical industry, you know, the industrial complex has kind of jacked up the birthing process, and that there's women who I know are, like, doing the things to redeem and restore the natural birthing process. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for that. And yeah, so it took a lot of interest in that. And obviously it's not commonly a male role as a doula or a midwife, mid-husband.
You think your awareness and coming into awareness of your own birth experience and
Interesting.
motherly, like, breastfeeding and different
Yes.
things
Yeah. So
impacted that, or it was like alongside that?
absolutely. I definitely had a transformative experience, an experience that gave me a lot of insight. So on peyote, in a ceremony one time, I was laid out in a field, and I had my arms kind of spread up above my head, laying down, and I have a collarbone break from mountain biking in Colorado years and years ago. Yeah, that sounds so cool.
All I thought was, you're so cool.
Dude, that's the response I want. I like this better. So, yeah, so broke that collarbone. And so as my arm was extended, that collarbone break was like an entry point into, like, an emotional catalog, or even the, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Even the the collarbone was an entry point into, like, an emotional catalog. And I was able to access a series of events that happened in my lifetime through the body, through the energy body, and just even like my physical body. And that led to a series of cries. And I describe it kind of like a baklava, like phyllo dough, how it's like very thin and multi-layered, like, you know, hundreds of layers of this very thin dough. And the cries were like from the tip of my toes to the tip of my head, and they were evenly distributed. Like the pain of the cry, or the sadness, or the energy of the cry. Like, I think generally as an adult, my cry or pain is very like centralized, or it's isolated to like my head or my gut. But these cries were like just like a thin layer, evenly distributed across my whole being. It would be as if you were like pressing your finger down through the layers. It was like that easy. And so as my finger kind of like, my energetic metaphorical finger, like kind of penetrated these layers, I was releasing the recorded cry in my body. And so it was like, you know, one after another, after another, after another. And in an attempt to kind of interpret or understand what this is, what is going on here, I discovered that these were baby cries when I was a baby. And I was, you know, discovered that as a baby, like a baby is kind of in its whole body, from its toes to its head. And so all of its experiences are just recorded in the entirety of the body. It's not very like head centric, where it's processing a lot. And these cries were associated with being weaned off of breastfeeding. And I could, with my adult mind, like interpret the like recorded baby cry that didn't really have a mind to record it in. And so I was able to feel each cry and understand that I was longing for connection with my mom. It essentially was connection. It wasn't quite like I want breast milk right now. It was like, you know, my most intimate part, my lips, connecting with her most intimate part, like her nipple, like just these sensitive spots, and just the privilege. It's like felt like the privilege. It felt like the honor. It felt like the just like the getting to connect. So these were like being weaned off of the nipple cries. So it was a longing for that connection. I want connection. I want the connection. This was these cries and mine. And she was like, well, have you talked to your mom about breastfeeding? Do you even know if you were breastfed? You know, like she was trying to be, you know, scientific, like try to verify this experience. And so I remember I went to my mom's house that week after this peyote ceremony, and I sat with my mom, and, you know, we're pretty close and open, but still, even it's like, hey mom, so was I breastfed? And I realized in that moment how common breastfeeding is in our culture and society as a people, and how not common it actually is as an adult to discuss it with your mother. And so it was like so new. And she said, well, I had this rule where I breastfed all of you boys, 4 boys, until 3 months. And at the 3-month day mark, she cut us off completely. And I start crying, or at least tears were coming down, because I realized, oh my gosh, like I felt that abruptness, and it was recorded in my being, and I accessed it through the psychedelic experience. And so then I shared with her my psychedelic experience, and then she was in tears, and well, I didn't know, you know, and she's like apologizing, which was such a unique type of experience for her to apologize for something, and for me to have gained access to knowledge as a baby. Yeah, it's a really sweet and very cool moment. But yeah, that really tuned me into the experience of babies at that age, because I think understanding or feeling how the memory got recorded, or even how a baby experiences its emotions with the entirety of its body. That was insightful. And so, yeah, that really led me into like, wow, what's a baby's experience in the womb? What's going on through the birth canal and every part of the process. And yeah, your journey has certainly been very natural and real and intimate and scientific, I would even say. Of course, spiritual and psychological. And so, yep, that is kind of the fire that lit my male doula interests.
Yeah, and you're describing it so lovely. The way that a baby records memory or understanding of connection and attachment, and when that's removed abruptly, like that is recorded in the nervous system. And the fact that it was your nourishment supply, so it was meeting physical need in your body. So for that to be stopped, even the connection, the beauty of the connection of the intimate space of your mouth and your mother's breast, and all of the hormones that are released in that interaction, paired with like physical nourishment that was going into your body. So your ability to connect and receive what you need was being recorded for the first 3 months, and then for that to abruptly be cut off, that's what the event stored. Now you can like understand it with your, like you said, your adult brain. It's like your cognitive brain understanding the story before you had words for it. Which is like, the more you understand how the nervous system adapts and develops in those early years, it just re-emphasizes the importance of, if all are able to do, like natural ways of allowing the body and bodies of baby and mom to respond to one another, even in like birthing times, and really like build that trust and connection from the like very beginning, instead of placing that trust and connection and wisdom to outside of our bodies and outside of the two beings that are the ones actually doing the creating and birthing and delivering and all of that.
Yeah, because mom was told by somebody, and I'd like to know who that is.
Is that somebody?
Who said that to my mama? Because someone said, oh, you breastfeed till 3 months. And we all are aware, most of us are aware of the unfortunate state of the medical process of the past century into this century. And it's like, for whatever reason, she just accepted that, and she'll even say herself, she's like, I didn't have the wisdom. Like, it just didn't even exist in the culture to like even question or even investigate. So someone of some type of authority, whether even a friend or an aunt or the doctor or nurse, like said 3 months, and she thought that was Bible and thought it was natural or whatever. And so, and I guess that was her own, compromise and her own boundary at that moment. But, yeah, definitely, I think taking instructions that are outside of your own experience in all categories of life and your own wisdom causes these abrupt experiences within our being. Hence the abruptness of being weaned off of breastfeeding. Yeah, and I'm curious in my own life's experience, like had my mother, tuned into her own intuition and my, like, what would have been my behavior breastfeeding? Would I have gone to 2 to 3? Would I have stopped all of a sudden? Would I have asked for it all the time? And now I'm watching my friends, breastfeed their kids and noticing there's all sorts of experiences, and each kid kind of relates differently to when they want to wean off, and then after weaning, like kind of their relationship to breastfeeding, whether it be to calm down, like emotionally or...
Yeah, and just to emphasize too that like your experience with the medicine and your body remembering, because often that medicine space and what you would call like healing space, different podcast, is outside of time, because what you did was access a part of your nervous system that has stored that since baby, if you want to look linear.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fresh and right there as if it was happening.
It was
now.
happening.
It was there happening at the
Right.
moment.
Yeah.
And you got to tend to it differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were able to rewrite it.
Yeah.
And support in your body.
Yes.
And then you got to exchange that with your mom.
Right.
Which was a whole nother layer for her. So all these things we talk about of the medical system and whatever.
Right.
Like shit
The
being
trauma,
crazy and
yeah.
the trauma of all of this is real and valid, but it's also like there's so much space to rewrite all of that, and it's not just doom.
There's so much space to rewrite all of that, and it's
Yeah.
not just doom. Yeah, to reiterate that. And definitely that whole experience was an illustration of that redemption. Like even you talking about the nervous system, and we often think that things are, you know, set in stone or it's in you forever and there's no malleability, but there's certainly immense amount of malleability with our traumas and recordings in our body. And yeah, I appreciate you directing me to the fact that that was happening in the moment. Like it was not a hypothetical or like even a viewing it from like behind the glass. Like I was actually piercing through hundreds of layers of cries and was releasing them energetically. I could feel it kind of in my muscles. It felt like it was all in like my fascia or something. It felt like it could have been like physically felt with the finger in the muscle somewhere. It felt like these micro tensions, just like paper thin tensions stored in the body. And I mean, getting up off of that field, of course, there was a lot of other great healings and releasings that happened. But yeah, I felt really reborn in a lighter body. And I was told later that day at that ceremony by somebody, and they said, and they were not aware of my experience earlier that day, but they said, if you can get as far or as early as possible in your childhood or life experience and heal a trauma, then that basically dominoes forward, and it helps to release all of the traumas that came after. And I thought that was such a cool reality and perspective to go, wow. And I did feel everything kind of loosen. And if you think of like our first traumas, like that's the bedrock. So then everything's kind of tied or built upon that tension or that knot or that story. And so definitely noticed a huge shift.
It's the foundations of our in neuroaffective touch they call the relational matrix. So it's the relational patterning how do you say that? Patterning. Yeah. Pregnant words are strange. That forms in the very, like, those early developmental stages, like from conception to early years. So when you go back in, you actually tend to those recordings in your body or nervous system. It's that those foundational keys that have been playing out all of your life, relationally, energetically, patterns in how you relate to work, people, yourself, fill in the blank. So when you rewrite something like that says, oh, my nourishment and my needs were not met, they were like, I was taken from them, in the breastfeeding journey, let's say, when you rewrite that and you tend to it and your body feels that and experiences, oh, my needs are met. My needs are important. My needs are met. It trickles out and ripples out and shapes the rest of your relating with self and other people and the world around you.
Wounds, early relational patterns.
Wounds.
And this is where, like, our disconnection in understanding from our own birth to birth in general right now. I was asking, I ran into somebody at a coffee shop the other day. He goes, oh man, I wouldn't know what to do if you went into labor right now. I don't know anything about birth. I'm like, this is how you came into the world. Like you were birthed. So to have no understanding or context, the disconnect from your own even birthing experience or what that even means, like that's how you were formed. That's your initial stages of life. So that, I mean, is telling of how much we are disconnected from.
Yes. I just got chills because I am just realizing right now, like, I have been like thrusted into birthing awareness in a way that the general population isn't. Mm-hmm. And of course we always normalize our experience. And so for me, like, birth awareness and even just having, you know, a dozen friends around the past couple of years who are carrying babies and having babies, it just seems so a part of my reality. But prior to that healing and that psychedelic experience, like, I had no connection or intimate relationship to kids being in the womb or even the birthing process. But yeah, I'm just realizing right now how like thrusted into the birth awareness I am. Of course, contrast hearing that person going, I would have no idea. And I'm over here going, I would be so intimately connected with the experience. And honestly, it's really hard to kind of convey, you know, this aspect unless you have experienced it. But because I accessed like memory recordings at 3 months, it's kind of like my cognitive brain got to experience the like baby brain. And so I remember a week after that healing, I was around my friend's newborn son, and this kid, Clayton, he stared me in the eyes like he was, you know, just baby looking all around, and then he stared at me. And I felt like he was seeing me and I was seeing him, and he was kind of like, oh, wow, you can see me. You can understand me in my state. And I certainly could. And he said to me through his eyes, don't judge me from like a baby's standpoint. Like, I'm fully here. And it was such a bold kind of like blunt pushback to my adult, you know, elitism. Like, we have an elitism as an adult, and we think that but the baby was basically like, I am all of what you are right now.
Yes. Yes.
And that happened a week after that ceremony, and that was another kind of catalyzing experience where it was like, oh, I can actually sympathize or empathize or understand such a young experience, because I had the fortunate opportunity to access that with my cognitive brain. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we all did that. It was a mountain climb. It was a scuba dive. It was, you know, we all did it. And I think in modern, you know, medical practice, we devalue the woman's efforts. We devalue even the baby's efforts. But it's like the baby's doing a lot. The baby is really participating in that birthing. And so to give credit to all of us for doing it, you know, we did that. And it is funny because it's like an Everest climb or something that you just don't have a recollection of. And so it's easy to not connect with it, or,
Yeah. It's recorded Everest climb that's recorded in your body. But I think that, like, that's another layer of when we what's it called when you put something into, like, it's no more a unique experience. It's
normalized.
No, like when you in the medical system. So, like, the brain. Generalized. So let's just say 39 weeks. You go in. You get an epidural, like the standard procedure.
Standard procedure
is not inviting or giving space for the baby to speak or the mother to speak.
Sure.
So there's no space to even listen or tune in when something is giving you a structure or order of operation outside of yourself. So to even come and say, how does this baby want to come into the world? And maybe the baby says, I want to be in a hospital. Maybe the baby says that, and there's choice and all of that. But to even come all the way back to what you're saying about, like, from the time you looked at him in the eyes, he's like, I am just as much, like, capable and aware as you are. So don't make me small or whatever that is. So value me and value what I have to say. And so I think what I've noticed is the tuning in of, like, the things that are awakened in me in the 9-10 months of being pregnant that I know is because of the baby in me. Like, it's the baby is directing me as well as I make these intuitive steps in the birthing process of my intentions and of my focus and who's there. And it's really like a collaborative approach to birth between the two that are doing it. Like, whoever actually shows up at the house, who knows what that will be, but I have to come back to, like, it's going to be me and the baby, like, moving together in some form of fashion or dance or movement that has to finalize in the baby coming out in some way.
So love this. So for a lot of people listening, they might be wondering, like, and I'm even wondering, like, what does it mean to hear from a baby, right? Because conventional thought is like, what are you talking about?
Oh, is that? Yes.
Contrast.
Why
we're on the podcast. So we can clarify.
Some people who are listening think you're woo-woo.
Yeah. Woo-woo alert. Woo-woo alert.
Turn this podcast.
Woo alert. Okay.
Tune in.
So, yeah, I'm curious, what has been your journey with baby awareness in the womb, and do you have some examples, or how did you discover that, or what is the mechanism of communication? Where is that occurring at?
Yeah. Great question.
You can take the TED Talk stage now.
Baby awareness. It's wild because I think the thing I've noticed the most about birthing and focusing in I would say, natural and intuitive way is that I'm continually being pressed towards my own intuition in deeper ways. So if I would say it's one thing, the baby invites that deeper. So, like, when you are learning to listen to your intuition, which is a whole nother journey, mine manifests in a way where it's like, I will be unsettled in my body, almost feel like a turmoil between my thinking mind and my body. Like somebody's not listening to the other. Let's just say that. So when I'm actually tuning in my natural state of listening and following my intuition, it's very peaceful. Everything aligns. The next step is always there. There's rest. There's a really deep confidence in no matter what choices are made compared to what's outside of me. So I know what that feels like, and I know when I'm like let's just say ignoring what my intuition is telling me. So I feel like with pregnancy and my intentions to be intuitive and listen to my own power in it, the baby itself is like oh no, you weren't listening. Oh no, you weren't listening. Like almost like taps you back into realigning. Because part of it is like wanting to activate that within myself. But you also like, I'm wanting the baby to embody that more than I did, you know, or we all did. Oh, that's intense. I felt that one. Insert crying.
And we're gonna take a break here. We're gonna commercial break. I feel like I'm like on a 80s talk show. Let's go to break. When like they're interviewing the like family.
It's getting a little much.
Do you need a break? Okay, let's go to break. Gosh, and you go from like a super emotional story to some goofy ass commercial.
Mentos commercial.
Mentos. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what TV is.
This is why it's good to talk. And recording.
Record it.
That was powerful. So basically, what Maria is saying is waste no time when a baby is conceived at starting to foster, cultivate a better experience, a more thorough experience than you had. And Maria is saying that she started that immediately. Why wait till your kid's 6 and 7 to teach them to follow their intuition? Let's start at the embryo stage.
Well, even before that, preconception. If you understand, the baby's arrival is way before the moment of sperm and egg uniting. Ta-da! Yeah,
so this is what's birthing right now is a school of thought of birthing. Like essentially like a school, because it's like a preconception. You could give a whole course on that. Many people would want to have that course of preconception relationship to your baby, conception relationship, post-conception relationship, womb relationship is like needs to be taught to humanity again.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge.
So I will tap into two things because you already tapped into one of them. So, peyote experiences.
We love peyote.
Thank you, peyote.
Thank you, peyote.
And those
Thank you, peyote, so much.
Grow it.
And the
Harvest
earth that
it.
grows it. The harvesting hands. Man found standing for. Man found standing for. Thank you, Man Found Standing, for following your intuition, listening to the spirit of coming to Missouri, starting the Peyote Church. Thank you to all of the weird and wacky and whole and free beings and spirits who came.
Just gonna go.
To the mic.
Okay, I think we've
Thank you,
enough.
Spring. Thank you, Bryant Creek. I want to thank Bryant Creek. Thank you, Bryant Creek. Being the manager of this album.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Like literally just a ceremony of giving thanks for that. Oh.
Thank you for that time. We all stood on the rock, cupped up.
Oh my gosh.
The spaces.
Thank you to every full moon that ever showed up.
Thank you to every alien. Scared half the people, delighted half the people.
Yeah, half and half is exactly right. I opted out of looking up at the sky when there were alien sightings. I looked down to the glowworms. Thank you to the glowworms.
Do you understand that was the one that's the one.
No, you're not. We're not bringing it. This is a topic. This is a topic we are not going on this podcast.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not now. Still
Not
processing.
now.
Dude, that was funny though. Like when I was discovering, like when we actually reviewed that like months ago.
But I'm saying that's the one where everybody was freaking out about afterwards. Everyone was freaking out about the aliens.
Absolutely not would I ever tune into that on a psychedelic, and I didn't.
Good for you. Everyone has choice.
Yeah, I was like...
Someone wanted to be really scared. Okay, anyways.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Me? No. I wanted to be...
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance was bliss in that moment. I was not confident of how I might relate to that.
Yeah.
And that is wisdom.
That's true.
That's wisdom.
Okay, so a couple experiences I would say in regards to, because there's like many dimensions to it, but
there was multiple people.
I would say statement about one of my appreciations of the medicine, and I say to people, I probably would not. This always makes me emotional. It's so intense. I probably would not have stepped into the mothering space that I chose to without some of those ceremonies happening, because I moved through so much within my own bodily system and my psyche and my relationship with my mom and my dad, like everything, that it actually gave space for me to allow another human to come through my body and to be able to really, it's a reception of love, a reception of goodness. So when we're cluttered within our own beings of, let's just say, trauma energy or relationship shittiness, that it makes it really hard to receive goodness. It actually becomes overwhelming, and then we shut it down, or we push it away. So one aspect of even inviting a baby into my body and that relationship with another human in a deeper love way than I understood was definitely like all I can say is I didn't have the space for it before doing a lot of those ceremonies that I did. I think it was a gift for me before entering motherhood to actually receive majority of the fullness of this gift of having a child and birthing a child. So, and knowing Canyon, my son, and knowing like the bigness of who he is like, I'm not coming through until you're ready, like that's why I think there's an aspect of the baby and the knowing of that soul, or however you want to understand it, that it's going to come through when you're ready and they're ready. And so to trust that, like everything that is lining up in your life and in, I would say, the pregnancy and birth process, it just emphasizes that. Like, well, somehow Canyon influenced me to have a home birth. I only knew one other person before then. So it's like trusting that their wisdom and understanding is like a part of your choices that you're directing, and specifically with your like sexuality. And so at each point of, I would like die and then come back to life, rebirth. And then I would be like in explorative sexual space. And then I would be in like orgasmic sexual space. And then I would be pregnant, and then I would give birth to myself. Oh, we need a whole podcast for this. But that was happening over and over and over. And there was a lot of beauty and to being able to embody all of those experiences over and over and feel through them and actually like purify each of them in a lot of ways. But one of the things was, as I experienced orgasmic energy through almost like the entire night. And so the combination of like orgasmic energy with just life force and what that, the intertwining of those, how they're actually like coiled together. DNA coil. And the pleasure of that we all have access to at all times, was really big emphasis for this birth, and being just like subtly invited into having intention for orgasmic birth with Canyon. It's kind of this like, that's a cool idea. I wonder, I read it in one book because nobody was really talking about it. So I read it. I was like, I'm gonna like set intention for that. But I feel like with the ayahuasca experience, I was like embodied and tapped into the energy of like, oh, that's like actually possible. And so I felt that was like a preparation for this birth. So intention for this birth is to have an orgasmic birth. So my last birth, I say I didn't experience pain because I was moving so much with my breath and being in the present and the power of our mind's perception of pain and actually just moving energy within our bodies with our breath. That's another podcast. So this one is like a next step in the journey where not only am I like breathing through the intensity of the energy, but it's actually like an awareness and pairing with the pleasure of orgasmic energy, the intensity of that within the birthing experience. So that's my intention for this birth, and how that will manifest. I'm really excited to see and experience, and hopefully come back onto podcast part 2 and talk about it.
Yeah, you're going to tell us how you got that nut. How you busted your nut.
Yep.
Busting your nut are going to get the nut. Like, even totally transforms my own relationship to the birthing process. And I feel like the immense amount of programming from movies and TV shows of just like a woman screaming bloody murder, kind of looking like she's resisting the whole experience.
And that birth is a curse. The pain of birth is a curse. Someone wrote that somewhere in scripture. You know that?
No, whoa.
The pains of childbirth. It's
This
Eve's
podcast
curse.
just took a turn.
Well, you have to think like, why was it conditioned to, think that it's painful for a purpose, because it's punishment.
And we're definitely going to need to go off air for right now. I'm going to finish this conscious podcast with, there has just been a very ancient, like, I call it a war for lack of better terms, on the sort of human power and the conscious blissful experience that we have access to here on the planet and as humans. Hence, one of our oldest writings, cursing, a very powerful and orgasmic experience, which is the creation of life.